The United States is in the midst of an energy revolution, and Texas is leading the charge. Earlier this year, the United States began producing more than 10 million barrels of oil per day for the first time since 1972. Many believe we will surpass Saudi Arabia and Russia as the world's top energy producer by 2020, which is vitally important for our national security. Unfortunately, liberal extremists have used false information disguised as science to harm the oil and gas industry. Thankfully, in 2016, we elected two leaders that are bold enough to stand up for our nation's energy security and the jobs and economic growth it creates. President Donald Trump and Railroad Commissioner Wayne Christian. While President Trump has exited the Paris Accords and reined in the out-of-control EPA, Wayne Christian has been on the front lines fighting for energy here in Texas. A former legislator and small business owner, Wayne Christian was consistently rated one of the most conservative elected officials, accumulating a strong record of standing for free markets and smaller government. A Grammy-nominated gospel singer, Christian has repeatedly stood strong for religious freedom, traditional family values, and protecting unborn life. Appointed by Governor Greg Abbott to the Interstate Oil and Gas Compact Commission, Christian passed a national resolution asking President Trump and Congress to return regulatory authority from the EPA and federal government back to the states. Christian will continue to work with conservatives like President Donald Trump and Governor Greg Abbott to achieve American energy dominance and make America great again.
Now that the boys are here again. The boys are
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your Texas Railroad Commissioner, Wayne Christian.
The boys are back in town. The boys are back in town. The boys are back in town. The boys are back in town.
Well, hello, Republicans. Isn't it great? And so much of the family is here that I feel like I've been a part for decades of the good work we've done in Texas. And I was honored about 18 months ago to be elected the 50th Railroad Commissioner in the state of Texas. Forbes magazine, and all of you don't know, the Railroad Commission has absolutely nothing to do with railroads, okay? You got that? It's oil and gas, Texas gold, Texas tea. It's absolutely amazing that on the day that I was elected, I was honored. Lisa and I, my wife, were driving back home to Center, Texas, and on the radio comes an announcement from the U.S. Department of Energy. The largest discovery of oil in the history of the United States in Midland, Texas. Now, okay? As a politician, I immediately started taking credit for that since that was my first day in office, but I know and you know that the good Lord in heaven is the one that provided Texas with those resources, and we have to be good stewards of that. In fact, what's amazing is the Railroad Commission of Texas by Forbes magazine was called, quote, the most respected regulatory agency for oil and gas on planet Earth, end quote. That's Texas, and Texas can be proud we do it right. You know, I'm honored that we as a Republican Texas organization have as our slogan, faith, family, and freedom. That's important to me. I understand how oil and gas is important. This discovery of the world's largest discovery of oil and gas, I think has not sunk into us of what it means for us in Texas. How does it have to do with families? Well, what about jobs? Understand right now we're building 2 refineries, 3 liquefied natural gas plants along the coast of Texas. The largest number of pipelines in history are now being constructed in the state of Texas. These are jobs, and we're short of labor for these jobs that are coming up in the state of Texas in the years ahead. We need truck drivers, welders, petroleum engineers, every level of employees. So look what we've been provided as opportunities for our families, for jobs, for economics, so that our children, our children's children can achieve the American dream in the state of Texas by getting out there and working and having the opportunities that only oil, gas, and coal has presented to us. You look right now to a task force that we've organized at the Texas Railroad Commission that is looking into jobs and how we can educate our young people and educate workers, utilize our veterans that are returning and serving our country to make sure they have jobs available from this oil discovery in Texas. You know, what does it bring to our government, to our freedom? Well, let's talk about dollars and cents a lot. It's what kind of represents what government has. For every dollar that the government, the legislature of Texas, invest in the Texas Railroad Commission, they return $51.25 to the state of Texas. And that means a 50-to-1 return on investment for education, law enforcement, transportation, and the other constitutional mandates of our government in Texas. 1 out of 10 jobs, by the way, 1 out of every 10 jobs in the state of Texas is either direct or indirect oil, gas, or coal. We have right now what's called, after Hurricane Harvey and terrible disasters such as that, few states has a reserve of money called the Economic Stabilization Fund. We call it the Rainy Day Fund in Texas. Did you know 100% of that rainy day fund that we depend on comes from oil, gas, and coal, the Railroad Commission of the state of Texas? God's been good to us with these natural resources. What about the faith part? I was honored to travel to Israel 1 month ago, the same week that Donald Trump announced that we weren't going to participate with Iran and that we moved the embassy to Jerusalem for the United States. We had dinner with the ambassador of the United States to Israel, and he shared with us all the great things that were being accomplished in Israel. And for the first time in 70 years since Israel had been founded, the United States was able to work more actively alongside the state of Israel militarily in supporting them, because we were no longer dependent on the oil and gas of the Mideast, of Saudi Arabia, of the other countries there, because we had become, because of Texas, energy secure, which, folks, is national security. I asked the ambassador to Israel, I said, Mr. Ambassador, did the discovery of oil in West Texas, which allowed us to be energy secure in the United States, have anything to do with the debates that you've been having here for Israel? And he turned to me and he said, all the difference in the world. I want you to get that down. Because of what God blessed Texas with, we were able to make secure. And he said, not only that, Commissioner, he said, I've talked to my fellow ambassadors around the world on conference calls, and they've told me that not only in our negotiations, but all around the world, because of this energy security, which, by the way, is national security, it has changed the negotiations across the planet because of the oil, gas found in West Texas. Think of that, folks. You know, real quickly, the biggest detriment to this success, to the jobs, to the tremendous opportunities we have with this largest find of oil and gas in the history of planet Earth, is the Al Gore false science, environmental extremist, lying group of people that are trying to convince generation after generation that oil is like tobacco, it's dirty. Let me give you real quick 2 examples. Let's take Texas in 1900. Average lifespan was 45 years of age. Children would die before age 5 was normal because they have diseases from which there was no cure. The two largest environmental deaths causes were, 1, freezing to death during the winter. Number 2 was starving to death because the crops failed and there was nothing to eat. And you had all the population of Texas, 85% were in agriculture in 1900, raising cotton, corn, food for their families 6 days a week, hard work. Let's shift to today. We don't have a starvation problem in America, in Texas. We have an obesity problem because of the fertilizers, the insecticides that petroleum has brought to make society richer. We no longer freeze to death during the winter. We have arguments to turn the thermostat up or down, okay? Because it's too hot or too cold. The average lifespan instead of 45 is now 75. You have 1.5% of the population creates enough agricultural products to feed 1/3 of planet Earth right here in Texas. So a great difference has been made, and I'll argue any day, God has blessed the resources of the state of Texas. And whenever everybody's tried to shut it down, from Jimmy Carter saying we were running out, which, by the way, we now have over 500 years worth of oil and gas in the state of Texas. Hey, that's your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, your great-great-great-grandchildren, and goes on a few greats on that one for 500 years. So we got the supply. It's economically sufficient. That means it's cheap, plentiful, and reliable. which is unlike the windmills and the solar panels that cannot exist without your government taxpayer subsidies to keep it going. Oil and gas can operate on its own, and it's available to us. Let me tell you, I'm glad to say that we represent what's best. And because of what we've done, faith, family, freedom, our slogan as Republicans can be consistent with what we've been allowed in oil, gas, and coal in this state in this founding. World War II, East Texas, the largest find of oil and gas in the history of planet Earth was the East Texas oil fields back during World War II. Do you know that because of the find of oil and gas in East Texas, World War II, the Big Inch Pipeline, the Little Inch Pipeline, furnished oil to the Allied forces, to our Army and our veterans that were over there in World War II in the greatest generation. We were able to fund 2/3 of the oil and gas that they needed to defeat Hitler and to win the war and to put America as the superpower on planet Earth since that date. Now that was then. Today, what timing? God again has given us the largest find of oil and gas in the history of planet Earth in West Texas. And ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, because of the good stewardships of the good industry and hard workers, because of Texas again at this time in history, Donald Trump has the world security, the energy security, the national security, has the economics, the power, and the strength because of the state of Texas to make America great again. God bless you. God bless Texas.
Now that the boys are